Hey everyone, I am Kim Beegler, owner of Ewethful Fiber Mill, and I'm here today to talk about wool. Welcome! So I started this wool, I have this cold soaking, quite literally. I started it last night because I said, oh, it's not freezing. Well, it hadn't really been cold for like 2 days. It was pretty cold last night. So here I am. It doesn't hurt the wool at all, but it hurts my little hands. So I am out here pulling this wool from the cold soak. It looks tremendous. So that cold water really helped get a lot of that grime off, because these were pretty dirty on the tips, and it looks really good. So okay, I didn't know that was going to happen, but that's a perk of the really cold, I guess. So anyway, this was cold soaking overnight. I have got insulated gloves on. These are my farm gloves. I just washed them up so they wouldn't add extra dirt. And I'm going to get this out of the water, take it to the mill, and we're going to put it into the washer. So join me. All right, we are at the mill. We are in the back, which is cold, hence why I'm still bundled up. And we are going to wash this fiber, which again, I'm pretty astounded by how well that incredibly cold. I think it was down to about 36 last night. So it was cold. And you can see I have insulated gloves now at the mill for when I specifically am doing this cold soak, because during the winter, because even though it's out of that water, the wool is still very cold and it's pretty chilly in the back of the mill building. So I am just trying to keep my hands warm so that I can still do this, because I am so excited about how well this works. So I am just opening the wool up a little bit. This wool is only like, and I'm gonna get some of that water out. This wool is only maybe 3 inches. And so, and it's pretty loose. As far as the locks go, the structure is pretty loose, so I'm not too concerned about opening it up a ton. It's not crazy high lanolin either, so it's gonna wash up pretty easy. And I'm just gonna open it up and then we'll get it washed, and I will let you see how it washes out. But I'm thrilled with how it looks so far, so I think we're gonna be good to go on this wool. And it's pretty much going to be washed, dried, and thrown on the picker. So I'll see you all when I've got some dry wool. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, everybody, I am in the studio dyeing up silk right now, and this is actually my first time dyeing silk. So I've got it, there's water under here. It just is very different than wool. So I am going to push it down to soak it, is what I'm doing here. Before I dye it, I will give it a good soak, which you would do with wool anyway. Or not anyway, but you would do the same thing with wool. You can see it just doesn't love to stay down. It doesn't soak up the water in the same way. So my first batch I actually, and this is warm water, which I think might be helping a little bit. The first batch I did, which I'll show you in a minute, I actually weighted it down, and I may do that too. I mean, in theory, the water is going to like stay in the fiber as long as it's sitting on there, right? But I thought, I really want this to soak well, so we'll do the same thing again. And I'm just gonna put this on here and kind of help it just so that lots of it is weighted. But you can see how much it poofs. Anyway, so I'm gonna leave that, and then let's come over here and I'll show you my first dye pot of silk. And there it is. So it's coming up. It's turning out. It's turning out. Seems to be, it's taking a lot of dye, but this is a bit of a learning curve. Small learning curve in theory. I had some good tips going into it, but here we are. I'll let you all see how this looks once I get it out of the dye pot and dried up. I'm excited. Okay. All right, so here's one more thing that I am doing today, and this is some dyed silk. And this wasn't my first batch. I think you all, saw some of it finished in one of the videos, but I had never put in the video of me actually dyeing it up. So this is the last batch that I was going to do in this green. This is going to be blended in with that wool that's getting washed. And I am so excited. There is something about dyeing silk that is really fun. It's just so silky in the pot. Shocking, right? What a way to describe it. Just the way that it floats in the water, and it's just really, it makes it very fun. So all I'm doing here, this is a pot, so it's sitting in the pot that I dyed it in the water still. And I am just giving it, like I would with wool, I'm just giving it a little rinse off because there is a little bit extra dye. It takes a fair amount of dye to really saturate the silk. And because there is a fair amount of dye in there, I just want to give it some good rinses. So I'm going to, this has a little bit of eucalyptus in it. I will do another soak just in water, and then I'll lay it out to dry. And like I said, I didn't want to lay it on a fan because it's so light. I didn't want it to get dry and then start blowing around. You don't want to waste the silk, right? So this will get one more rinse in just water. I'll lay it out flat to dry with like my heater across the room, kind of in the direction of that, and then it's ready to go and be blended into the wool. See the silk. So this is that silk that I was dyeing up, and it's all dried out, actually dried out really well. I didn't put it through the spin cycle in the washer, which I usually would do with wool, but I did not with this because I was too concerned about it not enjoying that. And I didn't want to put it on the drying rack because I was afraid if it started to dry, it would start to fly around if it was drying and the air was still moving. So I put it just, this is across the building from my heater, so it would get some good heat on it, and just laid it out on one of these, you know, mesh things. These are great, by the way, the Coconuts Sweater Care pop-up dryers, because it lets air circulate. Let me show you. Because it's a little dome, and then they just fold right back up. I need to get some on the website, so if anybody's interested, I can try to get that up there today. But I also put a towel on it just because if there was dye, I didn't want the dye. Sometimes the dye can move onto, I've had that happen before. Anyway, here's our silk, and it's really lovely. I've really enjoyed playing with dyeing silk. I will definitely be doing more of it. It is, of course, like wool. It lightened up a couple shades once it was dry, but I'm really happy with how evenly it came out. The second batch I did, I don't think it's quite as even, but you can see right there, like there's a little pocket. And you can see I broke the top up. So this is not like in comb top would be in those long, like what you see a braid in. It would be the same idea. I broke it up because it was going to be easier to get through all those layers, and it just poofs out. You can see how well I opened it up and it poofs out well. So, okay, let us. All right, moving along in the day, we are here at the picker, and I have got this 7-pound bag of washed wool that we are going to, and it's a couple of different fleeces. So what I generally do is I will I'll blend them together. So I won't just like go from the top to the bottom, because I want to kind of blend all the different fleeces together so that they're blended up well, because every year is not the same. Even though these are the same two sheep, every year is not going to be the same fiber exactly, right? So it's just nice. It might be slightly different lengths, whatever. They don't grow. Odd sound coming. Okay, I think we're all right. They don't grow the same fiber every month. Sorry, you all. That was like an odd sound that came from inside my picker, but it looks like we're all right. So I'm just going to be picking away here. And it takes a bit, you know, I mean, this is a fast picker. And of course, as usual, I'm looking at everything to make sure it's not going to get too caught up in there. And all of that stuff. So we're just going to go along, open this up a bit. Some of this is a little bit tighter. Some spots need a little bit of extra help opening up. And the picker will obviously do that, but if there's really tight locks, see, I'm gonna reach down to the bottom and I'll just be picking out different parts of these fleeces so that it blends well along the way. These all got a cold soak. They all got washed here at the mill, and now they're all getting blended together and picked. And it's our two white East Frisian and BFL cross sheep. And they have just gorgeous fiber. I'll take a lock. I don't think I've shown you a lock since I've been recording all of this. So let me try to find a good sample. And it's shorter wool, so it's gonna pick out pretty easily here. Not exactly a lock, but this will give you a good example of, they have a really nice crimp in there. Let's see if I can pull a really lovely crimp. It's kind of that French fry crimp that we know so well of BFL. And then we've got the East Frisian, which are dairy sheep. Anyway, I have always loved this wool that my shearer, she was breeding these for a long time, this crossbreed. And I've always loved getting wool from her, whether it's the East Frisian or the cross or sometimes the BFL. So here we are with two of our own, and they are doing stupendously. So I'm very excited about them, and they are the sweetest. So, okay, I'm just gonna keep picking, and I will take you over at the end and we'll see how this looks after I pick for a while. Okay, so yet again, I lost the audio on this, so I just am going to talk you through this short little 1-minute clip showing you as the fiber is coming out of the picker and it's just going through all those teeth, getting opened up. And then I'll show you here in a minute as I open up the door and you can really see how much the picker does at opening. And I don't think I mentioned, but these are fleeces from our sheep, but they were from this shepherd who we got the sheep from. So some of these fleeces range literally, some of them could be up to 8 years old. And so it's a good reminder. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's so beautiful. Good reminder that if fleece is stored well, it can last for a very, very, very long time. So don't underestimate the shelf life of raw wool. All right, it is carding day, and I'm actually carding up the last of this. So here's our wool, all nice and clean and beautiful. Here is all the stuff we are adding to it. So that is the dyed silk that I worked on. Here's some different colors, silk noil, and this is sari silk. So it is basically the waste fiber from sari fabric. And you can see there's all sorts of stuff. But what I was mainly going for was the color and then some of those and a little bit of texture. You're gonna get more texture out of a sari silk. All right, let me put you on the tripod and you can I'll walk you through how I have been setting this up because it actually takes me a little bit. And what I've ended up doing is stopping the machine basically every feed so I can set it up because it was just easier than me trying to keep up with the machine. Usually I have more than enough time keeping up with the machine, but because this is I'm adding layers at the carder, it is taking more time, and I'm just like, why am I even trying to fight the fact that can't keep up as fast if I want it to look the way I want it to look. So again, it goes into something I have to take account when I am pricing it, right? Because it's my time, and I am always awful at pricing my time, taking my time into account. So it already takes my time to get it to this point, right? And then when I'm having to stop the carder and load everything up onto the fiber this way, it takes more time. So I'm going to just grab some handfuls here and show you what I have been doing. So I've been using a fair amount of the regular silk here, and I broke this up before I dyed it. So it was silk top, and I dyed it up, or I broke it up before I dyed it so that it would be easier for me to get it to take the color throughout. And I'm gonna break it up anyway right at the carder, and so might as well break it up before and make the dyeing process easier. That's what I thought. If you're going to try to dye silk and you're not going to spin it like just straight from top, if you're just going to use it for blending, then there's no point in not breaking it up in the dye pot because it's just going to make it a lot easier for the color to get through to all of that silk. So silk is already a little bit of an extra challenge to dye. And if you add in, so what I was doing was I'm doing the silk pretty heavy for the first part. And while I'm here, I'm going to take some of this sari silk and just kind of pop it around in different spots. No rhyme or reason, because we're just kind of having fun with this. And I'll take a little bit and add a little up here. So I'm going to use, so what I was doing was adding a lot of the regular silk up top. And I'm going to grab some of my noils now too. So I'm adding a bunch of silk up top so that this is more saturated with the green in some spots and less in other spots. So I'm still going to have some green down here, but I was doing it a little bit heavier up here. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because my machine is going to. And then this is the regular silk that I'm just kind of putting a lot more sparse down here. So this will be a slightly lighter green. And yeah, the texture of this is going to be a little different, right? Because some of this is going to have heavier silk than others. That's okay. This is already like a textured fiber because we're putting in the sari silk and we're putting in the noils. So it's going to be, it's not going to spin out to the most perfectly perfect yarn, right? Because it's going to have texture in it. Then I'm just going to add some silk noil. And I actually am adding a lot more. This was outside my comfort zone. Usually I don't add tons of noil, but you will see I added quite a bit to this. And I'm adding it, you know, in different colors. So I'm just taking little chunks, opening it up a little bit. The carder is going to do a good job of opening that up a little bit more, and I'm just throwing it around. So my inspiration here is the holidays, right? Maybe a Christmas tree if you want with that green base. Okay, let me grab the other two noil colors and then we will start the carder up, and you can see how this is going to look, because I will admit I took some pictures and I was showing Mitch and I was like, yeah, it looks really ugly when it's just on the carder because all of these colors are like, I mean, I guess Christmas in general is kind of like color vomit. But it looks like, oh, these colors are never going to. But because it's just these little pops that we're adding, I think it's really fun. And it's going to be super fun yarn. I haven't had a chance to spin any of it because I was leaving town and I just wanted to, I'm going to add just a little more silk down here. I just wanted to get Fiber Club out the door. And so for everybody that's out of the state and such. So, okay, we're going to remove all of our stuff here so it doesn't accidentally get pulled into the carder. And then we're going to start this up. And I actually need to set the machine up because I haven't used it yet today. But I do have some roving that is left in here because I didn't pull the roving out. So let's take a peek and you can see up close what this looks like. So that doesn't look super pretty, right? With all those random colors on there. And I am going to, but now let's go down and see how it looks coming out. Oops, I didn't put a bin. That's okay. So here it is coming out. And it really is fun. I mean, it looks, and here's gonna come some of the darker stuff now, because that's what was feeding in. So it's gonna go from a darker, you know, green to a little bit lighter. And there's just all sorts of little chunks in there, which make it really fun. All right, I better put this into a bin and we're gonna finish up, and I'll spin a little bit so you can see what it looks like after it's done. All right, you all, we are here at my nano. And if some of you, and I've got some of this fiber, and some of you may have seen on Instagram I posted, or if you're on my Patreon, you know that I took a little tumble at the mill the other day and twisted my ankle pretty darn good. I've got some nice bruising and swelling, so I'm just on a little bed rest for a couple days while this heals up, which is not my strong suit, but Mitch was kind enough to go grab just a little bit of this fiber so I could do a sample spin on it with you all. So here we are. My foot is not ready to treadle, and we are scheduled to have a mill day this weekend, and I'm hopeful that is still going to happen. So things are starting to feel much better, but I've got to get the swelling down and such before I stand on my feet. But it may also be I just sit a lot more that day than usual. So anyway, here is our fiber, and it is so fluffy. I've heard from a couple people that are already spinning it that are really enjoying it. So I'm spinning it short forward. I do think because of you could spin it short forward, long draw, whatever. I just think because of the neps and because the texture of it is going to be a little bit different, because some of it's going to be heavier with silk than others, that I thought if you want a more even yarn, you might want to go short forward because you're going to have a little more control over all those different spots. So there's some cute little neps. It's just fun to do a fiber that's just got so much going on, I think, sometimes. Different textures to it. So I just wanted to spin a little bit of it with you all. And I just spin. I'm not trying for perfection. And you just spin right through the neps. And this isn't the neppiest. I think this was probably him grabbed some right off the end as I was finishing up. So it may have just a little bit. But there's a nep that I just will spin right through. And it'll just be little pops in the fiber. So I'm doing short forward. Spinning really lovely. The girls' wool, there are some pictures of them at the end of this episode, and their wool was just so stinking fluffy. Okay, also this color with what I'm working on this wheel is pretty epic. So let's go ahead and stop because I could sit and do this. And I did that again. I turned off the camera instead of turning off the machine, so I'll show you again. I'm just going to draft backwards a little bit, and then I'll move my finger backwards just to let some of that twist move into there, and then we're a little more even. And I'm going to just do a little pee back on that, and let's go in and see what this fiber looks like. The sun is shining today, which is nice. You can see what I was talking about with these two colors together. So there is our, let me try to get you out of the sun so you can see a little bit better. Here's our fiber, and I think it turned out, you can see those little pops that are happening in there. So really fun, and it spins up beautifully. So I hope everybody has fun with this. That is in Fiber Club. It was the last one after 5 years. So anyway, I hope everybody had fun with it. And I look crazy today, so I'm not going to pop on. But thank you so much for watching. And I will try to put something out next week. It is Christmas week, but I'll try to get something out there. Maybe not on Christmas Day. We'll see. Okay. Everybody, take care until next time. Make so many pretty things. Stay healthy. And we'll go up my tree. How's that? Stay healthy and be kind to everybody around you. Thanks so much.